It's kind of wild, right? Like, life can really throw you for a loop when you're least expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
One minute you're just going about your day, everything's cool, and then bam, the next thing you know, you're dealing with something that just, I don't know, rocks your world.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be anything, really.
Mm.
Car accident, sudden illness, you lose your job.
Right, right.
And when something like that happens, it's totally natural to feel lost. Like you don't even know where to turn.
Absolutely.
We instinctively seek support.
Mm-hmm.
We want someone there to help us, like pick up the pieces, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But now imagine going through all that, but instead of some random thing like an accident or something,
Yeah,
it's a person, someone who actually targeted you on purpose,
yeah.
lied to your face, and just took advantage of you.
Right.
And that is the reality for people who've been scammed.
Mm-hmm.
And as if that initial shock wasn't bad enough,
Yeah.
they often find themselves facing a whole new wave of threats.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're still reeling from the first one.
Yeah, and what makes it even more insidious is that these secondary scams, they actually target victims specifically because of that emotional state they're in,
Oh,
because of that vulnerability from the first scam.
Makes sense.
They're not just dealing with the financial loss, which, let's be real, that's devastating enough,
Sure.
but it's also this profound sense of betrayal.
Right.
Shame, sometimes even self-blame, because they're like, how could I have fallen for this?
Yeah.
So you've got this perfect breeding ground for further exploitation.
I never thought of it that way, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You're already feeling vulnerable, you're questioning your own judgment, and then suddenly
Yeah.
someone pops up offering help, offering understanding, maybe even a way to get your money back.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, come on, that's almost setting them up for another scam.
It is. It is. And that's exactly what we're seeing with what they call fake therapy scams. And the Scars Institute has been really looking into this. And these are predators who they specifically target people who have already been scammed. They're exploiting that trauma, that desire to heal.
Oh, come on, that's a new low.
It is.
Preying on someone who's already been hurt like that's just wrong.
Yeah.
So how does it even work? Tell me about these fake therapy scams. Like, how do they even start?
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
You're trying to cope, you're trying to deal with this emotional fallout of a scam.
Right.
You feel isolated, you feel vulnerable, and you're desperate for a way to just move on with your life.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you get this message, could be an email, social media, who knows? And it's offering specialized support specifically for, guess what? Scam victims.
Yeah, I can see how that would be tempting.
Right.
Especially if it was worded in a way that made you feel like they understood, like they get it, you know?
Exactly. And that's the hook, They use these buzzwords, right? They'll say things like emotional recovery, trauma-informed therapy. Some even go as far as saying they have scam survivor support groups.
Wow.
They prey on that human need for connection.
Right.
For validation, for someone who gets what you're going through.
Man, that's just awful. But how do they convince people they're actually therapists? Like, people are actually looking into this, right?
You would think, right?
Yeah.
You would be surprised.
Really?
These scammers are masters of deception.
No kidding.
They create these elaborate websites, fake credentials, fake online reviews. They even steal real therapists' identities.
So it's not even just taking advantage of someone who's vulnerable. They're actually putting effort into building this whole facade of, being legit.
Absolutely. And think about it. A scam victim, they've already had their trust broken, right? So they might be more susceptible to believing these fake personas. Their judgment's clouded by their emotions. And it makes it way harder to see the difference between genuine help and a wolf in therapist's clothing.
Ugh. This is already making me mad. And we're just scratching the surface here.
Right.
So they've found their victim. They've made contact. They've built up this whole trustworthy act. What's next? What's the end goal?
Well, you're right. We're just getting started, unfortunately. Because remember, they might seem like they're compassionate healers.
Right.
But their goal is way, way different.
Okay.
It's all about one thing and one thing only: money.
Right. So let's get into that. How does the money actually, because they're not sending invoices and waiting for a check.
Yeah. You're already a step ahead.
Yeah.
They know their targets are desperate for a quick fix,
Yeah.
and they use that.
Stop.
They'll offer a free consultation to lure you in.
Right.
But that's just the bait.
And once they got them hooked,
That's when the real manipulation starts, yeah.
they start reeling them in with all these promises.
Oh, yeah. Promises of quick results, miracle cures. The works.
But those promises, they come with a price tag.
They sure do. And it's usually a hefty one.
I bet.
They'll pressure these victims into these big upfront payments.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe for like a whole package of sessions or something.
Wow.
And they use this language that just plays on people's anxieties, you know?
Oh, I bet. Like what kinds of things would they say?
Oh, classic stuff like, this is a limited time offer.
Right.
Or this is the only way to guarantee you a spot.
Oh, wow. So they're using those same tactics, that sense of urgency,
Absolutely.
scarcity to get people to hand over their money.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, they'll usually insist on these payment methods that are almost impossible to trace.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, like wire transfers,
Right.
gift cards, even cryptocurrency sometimes.
See, that's a huge red flag for me in any situation.
Oh, absolutely.
But especially when you're talking about a therapist.
100%. Legitimate therapists, they don't operate like that.
Right.
They'll work with you on payment plans, give you invoices, the whole 9 yards.
Right. Right.
They'll use secure payment methods.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this right now and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell for that.
Yeah.
What happens next? Does the therapist just disappear with their money?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes they take the money, cut off contact, and they move on to the next victim.
Wow.
But it doesn't always end there.
It doesn't. It gets worse.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, no.
Some of these scammers, they see this as a long con.
Ugh.
They string the victims along with these vague promises about their progress, or they say they need more sessions or some special treatment.
Oh, wow.
And all the while, they're just taking more and more money.
That is all. They're basically holding people's emotional well-being hostage.
It's cruel, it's emotional manipulation, and it can have devastating consequences for the victims. Because remember, they're already dealing with the fallout from the original scam.
Right.
So this just adds another layer of trauma on top of it all, makes it even harder to heal and move on.
Man, it's heartbreaking to think that someone who's already been through so much could be taken advantage of again like that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the emotional impact, but what about the financial toll this takes? Are we talking about people losing significant amounts of money to these fake therapists?
Yeah. Unfortunately, some victims end up losing thousands, tens of thousands of dollars.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And remember, a lot of them are already in a tough spot financially because of the original scam.
Right.
So this just makes things even worse, pushes them further into debt, further into despair.
It's horrific. And to think these scammers are out there right now looking for people who are hurting, people who just want help.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder who you can trust.
It really does. It's a betrayal of trust at the most basic level, but it's important to remember that knowledge is power. Understanding these tactics is crucial,
Okay.
but it's also about empowering yourself, taking steps to protect yourself.
Okay, so let's talk about those protective measures then.
Okay.
What can our listeners do to avoid falling prey to these fake therapists?
Well, the first step, like we talked about, is awareness.
Okay.
Knowing how these scammers operate, that's huge. But beyond that, it's about being proactive.
Okay.
Taking steps to verify anyone who's offering therapy or support, especially online.
So what does that look like? What can people actually do?
Well, let's start with the most basic thing, but it's something a lot of people overlook. Verification.
Okay.
Don't just take someone's word for it that they're a therapist. Do your research.
Right, because anyone can make a website or a social media profile that looks all official.
Exactly. Look for their credentials, licenses, professional organizations they belong to, that sort of thing.
Okay.
See if you can find them on any reputable online directories for therapists.
And what about those online reviews? How can you tell if those are real or if they're just part of the scammer's, facade?
That's a great question, and you're right to be wary of those.
Yeah.
Online reviews can be helpful, but you got to look at them with a critical eye.
So how do you separate the real ones from the fake ones?
Look for red flags, like if the reviews are all positive, like over the top positive.
Okay.
Or if a bunch of them use the exact same wording.
Right.
Or if they lack specifics, like they don't talk about the therapist's approach or their methods.
Or if they're all like, this therapist changed my life. Yeah, okay, sure.
Exactly. You got to think, if something feels off,
Yeah.
it probably is.
Good advice.
And here's another one. Be careful about those unsolicited offers for help, especially the ones that just sound too good to be true.
Right.
Because remember, real therapists, they usually don't just reach out to people they don't know offering their services.
So if I get a random message from someone saying they specialize in helping scam victims.
Big red flag.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Way more likely that it's a scammer trying to, take advantage.
Right, right. Makes sense. Any other red flags people should watch out for? Especially when it comes to like payment, fees, that kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. We touched on it earlier, but it's worth repeating. Be super careful about anyone who wants you to pay a huge amount up front,
Okay.
especially if they're demanding it in a way that just feels weird, or hard to track.
Like those wire transfers and gift cards we talked about.
Exactly. Those are huge red flags.
Okay.
A real therapist will have clear fees. They'll give you invoices,
Mhm.
offer you secure ways to pay.
And if they try to pressure me, saying like, this offer is only good for 24 hours, or
Yeah.
this is the only way to guarantee your spot.
Run, don't walk, just run the other way.
Got it.
Those are classic pressure tactics. They're trying to bypass your common sense and prey on your emotions.
This has been, wow, really eye-opening. And I like to think I'm pretty aware of these things.
It's a scary world out there. These scammers are getting really good at what they do. But like we said, knowledge is power.
Absolutely. Being informed is the best defense.
Exactly. And if you understand their tactics, you're proactive about checking credentials and you trust your gut.
Yeah.
You can really reduce your risk of becoming a victim.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
And if someone's listening and they realize they do need support, maybe after a scam, what should they do?
Don't let fear or shame stop you from getting help.
Right.
Talk to someone you trust, a friend, family, your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
There are also some great organizations out there, like the SCARS Institute. They specifically help scam victims.
That's good to know.
You've been through enough already. Don't let these scammers take away your power, your dignity,
Right.
your hope. There's real help out there. You deserve to find it.
You deserve to heal and move on, surrounded by people you can trust.
100%. Don't let anyone take that away from you.
Well said. And that's it for this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another important topic.